Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to review another Percy Jackson and the Olympians episode. The fifth episode, A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers, in which the last episode had Percy and the trio dealing with Acadia, the mother of all monsters, and a chimera, as Percy struggles to whether or not his father actually loves him or not. But being saved at the end by the water, as well as being guided by I believe a sea nymph, to tell him where Percy Jackson, where his next destination is. Anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to review this episode before the next one comes out, and it seems like, judging from the last episode review, a few of you started to pay more attention to my reviews at the very least, or at least checked it out. But anyway, on to I got buys us cheeseburgers, or episode 5, in which it follows up after the explosion, where Grover and Annabeth are waiting by a scene where there's a lot of ambulances and cops, and it seems like they're being accused as suspects, but Annabeth is more noticing 3 elderly women who turn out to be the Fates, who are knitting and then cutting one of the blue threads. Grover warns that the police are starting to look at them, or looking for them, so they flee. They encounter Percy Jackson, and after Annabeth hugs and embraces him, he tells them that his father will meet them at Santa Monica, saying that his father does care for him and all that stuff. But Grover says that the authorities have blamed them for the incident on the train, as well as the explosion on the arch, so they need to they have to walk the rest of the way there, because if they go on public transport, they'll be arrested. Anyway, as they start to walk, Percy starts to speculate that someone must have stolen the master boat on Hayes' behalf, but also realizes that and that someone has betrayed the camp. But he also realizes that the others have he's the last one to realize this, and as they argue a little bit about this, they hear a motorbike, so they all hide behind a barricade, and Annabeth starts acting a bit weird for Percy, that she's wondering if it's the hug, and saying that just because he considers her a friend now, it should be fine. But she reveals that it's actually she saw the Fates, meaning that one of them is likely to die soon. But Percy does not believe that that their fate is determined, and he can decide their own fate. But he realizes that the biker has stopped and offers some help, but they try to ignore it until he says that they're running late on their quest, and they realize that he must be some sort of god or some monster, or something from their demigod world. And as he mentions, he is how he is like a cousin of Percy, and the way he's talking about conflict, and Beth realizes that it's none other than Khaleesi's father, Ares, god of war, telling them that they need to meet him at a diner down the road, and he can give them some helpful advice. They meet him at the diner, where he's busy picking fights on Twitter, and then tells them that he knows what their quest is, and it all fails, and then ends up showing Percy a video of his stepfather, saying how weeping over the destruction of his car, saying Percy's a troubled kid, and arguably probably behind his mother's kidnapping, which Percy ends up vowing to kill him. No, I do like how Ares says that. I had a good feeling about you, kid. Enjoying the violence, but then explains that having a little spat with Annabeth, being like Athena's daughter, ends up explaining that Zeus has sent out his kids to find the master boat, and that Zeus will go to war with Poseidon if it's not returned, and decides to offer them some help in order to get to Santa Monica, where without being arrested by police. Annabeth, of course, is skeptical about this, and doesn't trust Ares. But Ares has just said he believes that war will happen, even if the boat is returned, since this is what his family is like. Mentioning the history of Kronos and let's see how Zeus how he swallowed let's see all of like his uncles and aunts, with Zeus quickly making him bath him out and then cutting him up, saying that the whole demigods like conflict. And let's see, but he will still help them try and find the boat since he is ordered to try and find it himself. But he says in return they need to bring him his shield that he left behind in an amusement park. Even though Annabeth is still not liking him, he even gets on Ares' nerves. Percy agrees to the terms, but he makes it that Grover needs to stay behind as a sort of bargaining chip and a hostage, since he can't trust them to just walk out and all that stuff. But Percy and Annabeth can protest at this, but Grover agrees, but at least requests that he can talk to him on the door. Let's see, and with Percy and Annabeth promise to come back for him, and also to warn him not to get rifle Ares up, but he thinks he'll be fine, and then they head to the abandoned water park. During which Percy and Annabeth talk a bit, and Percy learns that Annabeth has never seen movies when he mentions horror movies, which is kind of strange, but oh well, that's what it is. But no knows. But yeah, so he offers to watch one with her after Quest, or at least just a film in general, not a particular horror movie. And during which she steps through the toll booth, and then all these contraptions happen, and Annabeth realizes that it's a trap made of celestial blondes, explaining what it is to Percy about how it can kill monsters and demigods but not affect mortals, and it's what Riptide is made of. And then figured that trying to figure out how he could save Percy from this trap, but she's a bit distracted by machines and designs and integrity, if you will. Well, ingenuity, I mean. And also realizes that this park is likely built by Hephaestus, the god of forgery, and let's see. But eventually, she's able to realize that Percy just needs to just step through, and she goes through as well, revealing that it's not really meant to kill gods, only to test their courage and maybe see if it will dissuade anyone from entering or not. Or at the very least, it's designed to make him know when someone's intruding on his park. And during this time, Ares is still doing arguments on Twitter while Groove is just watching him, trying to make a bit of a conversation, revealing that he's actually met him before in the previous winter solstice, even though Ares thought he was like a kid, but Groove is revealed to be 24 years old, which which I was wondering if they were going to reveal that, since Staters age half the time as humans do in the Percy Jackson books, but yeah. And then sort of bonds with Ares when he reveals he's a fan, which of course, as he thinks, was a part of nature, which Ares is at first skeptical because he thinks all the satyrs are protesters and hippies who like tofu, but like Grover says, war is a part of nature, saying he likes the Tarbot War, Lobster War, and the 355 Years War. With Ares mentioning how those wars are hardly mentioned, and there were not very much deaths in those conflicts, but Glover clarifies that they are, from beginning to end, occurred with no blood spilled. That what makes them so admirable as a type of conflict, or like dominating force, which does impress Ares, and they sort of bond. But anyway, and we cut back to the park where Annabeth and Percy realize that Ares likely met Aphrodite, which is Hephaestus' wife, in which they're known to have a thing for each other in the park. So, and they must have realized that let's see, Hephaestus caught them in the park, so he abandoned the shield before he could get into whatever kind of trouble that Hephaestus will set up for them, since that's what he did once before when he caught like those two cheating. Though granted, the show never really mentions that part. I know it's mentioned in the book. And then the lights turn off to the tunnel ride of love on, and they realize that let's see. Then they realize that this is probably the ride there is, though. Let's see. Now, they first talk about whether or not they have weird. Let's see, trying to make it weird for each other, but they go on when they realize that's probably the place where they've left it. And during the ride, they end up hearing a song being played, which is "What Is Love," and they see a sort of animated clip show in this Tunnel of Love, which is showing the story of Hephaestus, how he was like rejected by his mother Hera, who threw him off a cliff. Then he was rejected by his wife Aphrodite, who cheated on her with Ares. With Percy then talking about how this is what the gods are like to each other, and this is the stories that her mother told him and all that stuff, and he thinks it was like I think we now realize that this is probably she did this to probably keep him away from their lifestyle, and maybe possibly or maybe just try and stay away from the world of gods. But Annabeth ends up telling him that it was probably because her mother was trying to make sure that he would not end up like them. And then after this whole conversation, the ride starts to speed up, passing through the water, gold statues and all that stuff. And they let's see, well, there's a gold, and they pass through a gold statue, holding a shield, which they realize what it is. So they quickly jump off the thing before it starts falling down into a lot more deadlier, I assume, part of the ride. But they start struggling in the water until Percy uses his water powers to save Annabeth. And then we cut to the next scene where Ares is bonding with Groover, talking about how he hates children, including his own, though maybe not as much as he hates everyone else's children, but gets annoyed about how they're always asking, praying for things, and to get them to knowledge about it. Complaining about how the winter solstice is always having to the worst part of the year for him, since he has to see every demigod give their presentation every year of the things they've done and all that stuff. With Groover sort of agreeing and mentioning how the last year one sucks, since it's someone likely stole the master bolt from there, but Ares dismisses this due to the amount of saying that anyone else could have stolen it, and that a lot of people and a lot of people have a grudge against his old man, if you will. But Groover tries to edge Ares on about this, how it has to be someone that's smart, bold, sneaky, and stealthy. But Ares tries to prevent him from mentioning it, talks about it, gets frustrated about this and tells him to stop talking about it. And then goes on about Athena, which, since this is what Groover's probably reminding him of, and or goes about how smart she thinks she is, in which Groover says that she always agreeing with him, saying how she always makes things more complicated, so people believe that she's the smartest. To which Ares enthusiastically agrees, and it's just like, I thought I was the only one that saw this, so it's like. And they talk about and they make fun of the fact that she always talks to a pet owl, and about how it's weird and that's like it's her only friend. But let's see. But Grover tries to mention that. That probably. But since even though Anthony thinks she's so smart. Since he thinks that Groover thinks that since Athena thinks she's so smart, but Ares is the one that's arguably found the lightning thief. Let's see, but Ares becomes a bit hostile about this, saying that he knows that Percy did not steal the lightning bolt, despite what Zeus believes in all this. But Grufer is just a bit, but this is where the conversation ends. But Grufer still seems a bit confident in what he is saying. Anyway, Percy and Annabeth observe the chair and all that. The golden chair that's with the golden statue holding the shield. As Percy tells the story of the chair about how it was a gift to Hera, but entrapped her and nobody, even the gods, could free her from it. And eventually they offered Aphrodite as his bride, and Hephaestus let her mother go. And they realize that in order to get the shield, one of them needs to become a golden statue. Annabeth tries to offer herself, but Percy protests, saying that saying that it's not going to be the same like what happened in the last episode, but Percy reminds her that he picked her because she would sacrifice him if the quest required it, and she's more likely to succeed than him in completing it. With Annabeth protesting, but Percy, just gets her to do it, having her to promise to come back for her once the quest is completed, and also to bring her rescue her mom. But she says that she didn't really need to be told all that, as she was going to do it. So Percy then sits, and then he starts to slowly turn to gold, which he tries to beg him to do, but Percy refuses and then turns to gold. And Annabeth, as the shield drops, ignores it, tries to free Percy from the chair, trying to figure out the contraption, but is unable to do so. And then suddenly a figure arrives on the top of the balcony where the statue is, asking if she needs help, but she says no, but she's ignoring him. And then he plays a few notes, and a ladder is activated that can get her up to the balcony, and ends up and she ends up saying, let's see, questioning what can he do to help, but he is revealed that he is actually Hephaestus, the god who made the chair, with Annabeth trying to ignore him afterwards and just trying to focus on fixing a friend, despite him saying that the chair doesn't work like that. And Hephaestus mentions how Athena has been displeased with her recently, and saying that if she goes and takes the shield and then complete this quest for Ares' shield, she can become a hero and be forgiven in her mother's eyes and all that stuff and win her favor back. But Annabeth ends up saying he doesn't really care, and saying that she doesn't want to be like the gods, and how all the gods are just playing all these games, manipulating each other and all that. But Percy is different, and and probably maybe even better, if you will, than them, and that he's different. And as she spent time with Percy, she's probably the same as well, and doesn't really want to be like the gods anymore. Which moves Hephaestus emotionally. So who was planning to trap Ares, decides to free Percy, as Percy is no longer gold, and then tells the two of them that some of us don't like being that way either, like all the gods are, and promises to give Annabeth a good word for her mother before leaving them. In which the two return exhausted to the diner and give Ares his shield back. And he takes them to a white lorry that belongs to an organization called Kindness International, and tell them they will arrive at the Lotus Hotel and Casino in Vegas within a few hours, where they can meet Hermes, and they can get help to travel to Los Angeles to try and find Hades. mocking sort of Percy after a bit of banter between him and Percy, mocking him how Poseidon has ignored plenty of children after he got bored with them, but Percy is not having any of it and telling that Ares he is not yet to know, there's yet to know him, and he's not going to fail, who he truly is, and all that. But Groover interrupts Witty, Percy, and Ares before they could go at it, thanking Ares for maybe a bit sarcastic about the emotional abuse and the cheeseburgers, and taking his friends inside the lorry, trying to get a napkin, some towels from Ares just before the trip goes, because because of how it smells. But Ares just completely ignores it, snaps his fingers, and then they start riding with Annabeth and Percy questioning if Ares was telling the truth about the lorry's destination. But Grover says that Ares wasn't lying and about it, and he wasn't lying about everything as well, revealing that he has an idea. He's saying that he knows who stole the master boat, ending the episode. Well, that was quite the episode, and arguably that narration lasted a bit longer than I had intended. But anyway, onto my thoughts. I will admit, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to see more of Arcadia and the Chimera. Granted, this is the same like within the books, but and I thought there might have been at least some sort of follow-up of like trying to chase, but I assumed she must assume that Percy either died or something like that. But yeah, we're not going to see her again. Let's see, even though it would be nice to have her as a villain come up again. But at the moment, as far as we can tell, this is the only book that, the first book is the only one she's appeared in. Whether or not we will see her again, who knows? I mean, there's at least 2 more upcoming Percy Jackson books, and maybe she'll appear in one of them as another enemy for Percy Jackson to fight once again, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but not happening anytime soon. But yeah, the interesting thing that the books, that's changes from the books is that Annabeth is the one to see the 3 elderly women of the Fates, because in the books it's Percy Jackson, and it's actually much earlier in the books, and when Percy is leaving his Yancey Academy and all that, which he sees the string of fates, and he's wondering if it's that his string that's there. Now, granted, I'm not going to spoil whether or not that is his string, but it's a string of a very particular character. But since Annabeth saw it, I think it could work as well, because this character is also tied to Annabeth, but I'm not going to say who. But yeah, I'm not going to see for show-only watchers. I'm not going to spoil that part of the books for them. They'll probably figure out that themselves. But anyway, let's see. I am glad that we are starting to see the sort of police become suspicious of Annabeth, Percy's group, and all that stuff, because, well, it's following up from the last episode, but also because it's like something that's been going on in the books for a while now. I wasn't sure if the books, can't recall if the books covered it in, let's see, this part of the story, or if it was done sooner, but Percy did get suspected, I think, of like behind a few scandals, though. Granted, I think in like the books, the bus explosion was mentioned, but let's see, the bus with the furries was mentioned, but I think that was more of an explosion, but it wasn't really here, so no. But I do like how you're starting to see Annabeth and Percy really starting to become friends a bit, with Annabeth hugging him and all that. But I do like how Percy's now starting to think that his father does actually care for him, and talks about how he's going to get excited about how the father will meet him at, I believe, Santa Monica, which, for those who have read the books, that's not when Percy Jackson actually meets his father, and not just yet. So I wonder if this is building up to be a bit more for Percy to be a bit disappointed. But I do know that he'll probably get some help from his father there. But we'll have to wait and see on that bit. But let's see. They have to. Let's see. But I do like how Grover points out the police are making suspects for the train incident and the arcs that have to go transport and walks. It's like making it a bit more difficult for them. But anyway, I do like how Percy Jackson, when he thinks like he figures out, okay, someone must have stolen the Master Bowl for Harry's, but like I mean, Hades. I said Harry's. Sorry, I don't know why I said that, but and he realized that there must be another traitor besides him, but I do like how he goes like, "You guys figured this out before me," and all that, which but I do like how he's at least taking the quest more seriously, and he mentions that himself. But of course, this gets interrupted, and I do like how when the conversation behind the pretty barricade when the motorbike when they think of motorbikes coming through, Percy tries to tell Annabeth that they're now friends, and he now considers her a friend and doesn't have to act weird about the hug. I'm not sure if this is to try and start building up on the sort of romance that Percy and Annabeth are going to have yet, because let's see, I will admit this show hasn't really emphasized a bit more much of it as compared to I think the books as of Percy having a thing for Annabeth, but who knows? But yeah, I do like how she tells Percy the fates and that one of them's going to die. But I do like how Percy's trying to be like, I don't believe in fate and all that, and thinks that he can make his own choices. But I do like how he's the one to notice that the motorbike stopped. I do like how they just popping up and down when Ares is trying to talk to him, and too he like mentions that they're behind schedule on their crest. So I thought that was kind of like funny, and tells them to meet them at a diner and all that. But I do like you sort of had the back and forth banter between Annabeth. Well, let's see the sort of hostilities between Annabeth and Ares when she realizes that who he is. It's because Athena and Ares do, as we see later down the show, down when Ares talks about Athena, that they have that hostility. So it's no surprise that a daughter of Athena would do that towards Ares. So yeah, I liked that. But anyway, I do like how let's see. Now, granted, when this book was made, Twitter wasn't the big social media platform. I'm not even sure it was made during the time the first Percy Jackson book came out, but it's clearly more update. The show is clearly more updating for more modern audiences, and you have Ares fighting on. Ares using Twitter to cause fights, which honestly I could probably see the God of War picking some sort of like online wars on Twitter. Though, granted, I'm curious what kind of Twitter wars he's getting himself into. Shipping wars, pretty debates on politics, cultural issues, who knows. Football teams, either way, he's probably just enjoying the conflict. Yeah, well, granted, I am a little disappointed that Ares doesn't really bring up that Percy kicked Clarice's butt during the whole capture the flag games, which he mentions in the book, saying that he doesn't pick his kids' battles. But we see here that he actually dislikes his children. But I do like how he's like saying that he says he knows what Percy and the others are up to, but thinks they're going to fail anyway. And I do like how he shows them the phone of Gabe being interviewed, and I do like the performance that the actor for Gabe gives. As you can clearly tell he's like faking the care he has for Sally and all that stuff for being as upset he is about the car being destroyed. But well, granted, he's probably upset the car is destroyed, but he's clearly trying to be all bit all sob, making a sob story about Percy being a troubled kid. So like that. I do like how like Ares just like I mentioned earlier, Ares liked how Percy just says I'm going to kill him and all that stuff. So I do like that. And I also did like how Annabeth realized that who Ares was when he mentioned Percy as his cousin, which let's see, it's which granted the show has yet to explain the whole well, granted the show hasn't really actually gone to the books or romances just yet, but I figured they'd probably bring it up early since let's see, the last book is the one that mentions the whole issue about demigods dating each other since all the gods are related, but no, they haven't done that yet about how it's only on the godly side or something, and they don't really have DNA or something, but like that. But yeah, but yeah, I do like how Ares is like let's see, willing to help. Let's see, talks about how he doesn't think Percy Jackson's quest will succeed, but how he can offer them help to get arrested. But it was like I do like how Annabeth is suspicious, but Ares just talks about his family's just like this, about wars inevitable with them because of their history, and I do like how it's that we do finally get the story about Kronos and all that, which I will admit I figure it's it, which was interesting because I think it's mentioned much earlier in the books, but it wasn't really let's see, talked about in the early episodes, but it's now being discussed. Which, if you're talking, which I think is probably maybe fitting with the way of how Ares is describing the family about, oh, they're just always looking for conflict. So we finally got that little backstory, which which will play a large role in the story down the line. But at the moment, it's just like emphasizing just about let's see Ares about how much their family are all problematic in a sense. So I do like we get to see that. But what else? Oh yeah. But he's like, even though he thinks war's inevitable, he's like saying that he's doing it because he's still helping them because he's ordered to find the boat anyway. But I do like how eventually they do eventually agree. But I do like how, despite the fact Annabeth is just not, getting on Ares' nerves, Perseus is like, we'll take the offer. But I do like how Ares is like saying that I don't trust you lot to bail on him. So I do like how he says like, I need one of you to be a hostage, and obviously it's going to be Groover because, well, Percy and Annabeth had to probably have the more character moments since this episode is arguably emphasizing more on their growing friendship. So I do like that. So granted, in the books, all three of them go to the casino. I mean not the casino. I mean the water park. But this is different from the books. But it allows of course, Groover to have like let's see, to have some like scenes with Ares, and I do like, and I think the most interesting one is like, let's see, Groover just trying to bond with Ares about war and all that stuff, and which let's see, and this is different from the books because I think in the books, Grover is a bit scared of Ares, but yeah, he talks about being a fan. Now, granted, he might just be but he might just be, now granted, I'm not sure he's faking the admiration, but he's at least using it to try and get as much information as he can out from Ares, judging by the end of the episode. But I do like how he talks about, let's see, I was a genuine fan of Ares, but Ares is like a bit skeptical because he knows what satyrs are quite a lot alike and like tofu protesters. But Grover talks about one of the facts that was a part of nature, even like with like the wildlife and all that. And I was just like wondering what you're like a World War II fan, but Grover mentions wars that arguably probably none of us have heard. The Tarbot War, the Lobster War, and the 355 Years War. Which Ares notes that not many people talk about those conflicts since there's not really much casualties in them. But I don't like how Grover says like there's a sort of art and sort of like it's the admirable quality to these wars that these overwhelming wars were able to not spill much blood or no blood at all. I do like how Ares seems to be impressed with like that, since it's like I got like a little like I'm liking this style of story, like he likes this guy, which is interesting, or at least being impressed with him. I do like how it follows up later and down the episode about how he mentions how he dislikes his own children, and as well just children in general. But we also this part, like I mentioned before, the conversation, we do get the confirmation that Grover is 24 years old. I was wondering if the show was going to reveal that or not, since well, granted, not fully. I mean, I still wish it would be fully, but we know that in the book, satyrs do, like I said earlier, satyrs do age, slower than a demigod. It's like, I think every 2 years they age for like, it's an extra age for them. So he's 12 right now, but he's actually 24 years old, and it would probably explain more of like being the sort of guide for Thalia down the line. So like that. So I do like that. But anyway, I do like how you see Ares and Grover bonding and him talking about how he dislikes demigod children, particularly his own. Well, maybe not. Well, even his own. Well, maybe not as much. But Getzer talks about how it's interesting how he talks about how the winter solstice is his least favorite part of the year because they're all there to present their stuff. But Grover uses this to try and agreeing with him and talk about how the latest one was the worst because he thinks someone stole the Master Bolt. But of course, let's see, if you've seen the books, you can see why Ares is trying to dismiss it. And even I do like how he points out and he tries to use some like credible things about how there's a lot of people with a grudge against Zeus, not just demigods. So we have that. And let's see. And I do like how Grover tries to go on about how all these things the thief must be, which gets Ares to mention Athena. I do like how we see Ares talk about his dislike of Athena, and I do even like how Grover even mentions how Athena tries to make everything so complicated. It's like, yeah, it's like she tries to act all high and mighty of how smart she is, even though she has her weird traits of like talking to an owl. So I do like how Grover is also saying like, okay, you probably probably are smarter. You have some more intelligence than her in some regards since you found the thief. But this gets Ares to say, yeah, I know that Percy isn't the thief, which I think this is Grover's, which I think is clearly a clever way of Grover to try and get an idea of who actually stole the lightning bolt, which we'll have to wait and see what the cliffhanger at the end leads to the next episode. But yeah. But anyway, let's see. But anyway, I do like how Percy and Ebeth are just traveling the water park, and we finally get an explanation on celestial bronze. I thought this would have been brought up much earlier, but you'd think it would be brought up with Percy's weapon Riptide earlier, since Percy would because you never know when Percy. You probably should have been informed that celestial bronze weapons like his sword will not affect humans. So, granted, the show never really had a moment where Percy ended up picking a fight with humans, but But who knows? You think this would be something explained earlier, but no, it's not. But anyway, but I do like how when Percy's trapped, Annabeth is just trying too much to not admire the machinery and the ingenuity of it and all that, because she wants to be an architect. But Percy's like, Annabeth, focus. But I do like how she explains that the trap that Percy is in, is just mostly just a test to see if people are brave enough to enter the park. I do like how they're able to realize that it's Hephaestus making it, as well as realizing that Ares took Aphrodite to Hephaestus's park, and let's see, he must have left the shield after being caught. Which I do like how Percy, mentioned how it's weird for them to do, how messed up it is for them to do this, and even Annabeth, agreeing with how Ares mentions how their family is messed up as well. That was particularly the gods. But I do like how the tunnel of light sort of turns on here. I am a little disappointed that the book, they've sort of changed a bit to the book where they sort of like try not to make this weird with each other, but instead of like the embarrassment of the books where Annabeth is completely embarrassed at the fact that she was going to be on a love-themed ride with Percy, and Percy gets embarrassed with this afterwards. And it's like they sort of go like red and blushing kind of thing, which arguably they probably don't win their first ride to be with like someone at this point in the story they're not really exactly friendly with. Granted, they've become a lot more friends than they are in the show, much sooner than they have in the books. But it's more of a witty on the ride on the lorry or truck at the end. Let's see when they start to bond really. But that's it. But that's just me. But I guess since they've become friends sooner, they didn't have to do that complete utter embarrassment of going to a park, a love-themed ride to each other. Which let's see, I don't really think we have love-themed rides in the UK, but or at least ones I've never seen of. I mean, again, I've never not really got that many relationships, but oh well, that's just me. My love life is non-existent at the moment, so yeah. But that's enough about my personal life. I'll admit, I do find it an interesting choice that I do like. Interesting to granted, it's a bit corny, but I guess I do like how it's an interesting choice that they had the song "What Is Love" and having an animation montage about Hephaestus stories, and Percy talks about how messed up it is, particularly about how which does kind of make you sympathize with Hephaestus, with how he was ejected by his own mother and thrown off a cliff and tried to win Aphrodite, but she preferred Ares. Now, granted, a bit about later, which is a change from the Greek gods book, one of the Greek gods information books that of Percy Jackson, that gets released much later, where Percy's telling Greek demigod stories. In those books, the whole thing with being thrown by her mother and the golden chair thing does actually happen. Though granted, that story is not told until like the fourth book, where Hephaestus does actually appear for the first time. Well, actually appears in book 3, but it's like book 4 is where he's like officially having his like conversation, where you're officially having a conversation with him there. But the bit with like Hephaestus just being trapped by Athena. Let's see. I mean, Hephaestus trapping his mother Hera and letting her go. I think that was more persuading from some of the other gods. I'm not sure if it was Poseidon, though that might be with the Ares and Aphrodite bit. But it wasn't to offer having Aphrodite offered as his bride and all that, or as his wife, because those info books revealed that. When Aphrodite came, all the gods were competing to win her affections, but with the exception of Hephaestus, because he knows that Aphrodite would never agree to marry her. But Hera, realizing that her presence could cause conflict in the family. Sorry for the background noise, by the way. My washing is on. Realizes that in order to that she needs to pick a god. She probably needs to pick a sort of god to be Aphrodite's husband. Otherwise, there'll be a bit of a conflict. So tell the gods that it would be to respect her choice of being the goddess of marriage, and suggests her son Hephaestus, which gets Aphrodite and Ares protesting, but you get Athena agreeing with this decision, since thinks that let's see, this would cause a lot less conflict, and you wouldn't get people like Ares, Poseidon, and let's see, Apollo mad about the choice, since since they wouldn't be jealous of Hephaestus' looks, and they wouldn't be insecure that one of the others got her besides him, which of course Hephaestus does get. Tries to be a faithful husband until he realizes Aphrodite's cheating on her, but I'll get more to that later. But I do like how the story. But I do like it, even though let's see, this is coming the story about Hephaestus being rejected by both his mother and wife is coming much earlier in the books. I do like how it was used of more of the sort of let's see, story about Percy being a bit distrusting of the gods and all that, and using it as and building up of Annabeth's own sort of distrusting of the gods' ways here, where and building up where Percy realizes that it tells them. I do like how Percy goes on about to Annabeth about how his mother told all the stories to try and perhaps maybe keep him away from the gods, or not to be or not to let's see, maybe to just keep away from their world or something. But I do like how Annabeth says that it was probably to try and so he wouldn't end up being like them, which clearly he isn't. But I do like how it's like an emphasis on why probably Percy's mother told Percy about all these stories, so that he would actually, when he eventually enters the world of the demigods and gods and all that, and the Olympians, he wouldn't have their worst traits, and aware of their more questionable choices and lifestyles, if you will. So he could try and end up being a good person. I will admit, I am disappointed that one change from the books is that we're not having the metal monster spiders, because this reveals that Annabeth is afraid of spiders, being one of the weaknesses of a child of Athena. Instead, it's just like a tunnel ride down, really fast ride, and of course a golden statue. But I can probably understand, perhaps for budget reasons, why they can do this in a live action show, because that would cost probably quite a lot of effects to do all that. So instead, they did the golden statue thing, which I think it works. Granted, I think it's Percy's water powers. Let's see a display. Not really impressive. I mean, it's mostly a push, and then it goes black, and then they're on the surface, so it's not that impressive. But I guess it's like the budget. But I do like how they're able to deduce that's the chair that Hephaestus met, which I was talking about earlier. Now, granted, I will admit, let's see, forcing Aphrodite to be his bride, or at least the gods bargaining that they'll make, let's see, Aphrodite his bride or his wife if he lets Hera go, which I think in the show makes Hephaestus a bit more questionable than I think the Percy Jackson books. But also, granted, when you actually look at the actual Greek myths, the gods are a lot more questionable than the stuff that the Percy Jackson mentions in those myths. I mean, Percy Jackson's more like a very watered down version of some things, particularly the story of Medusa. I mean, that's like yikes. But yeah, but I do like how Annabeth is trying to when they realize the story about how to get the shield down. Annabeth is quickly trying to offer herself and tries to prevent Percy from doing what he did last time from the previous episode. But I do like how Percy points out that he picked her for this quest and reminds her that when he told Chiron that he needs someone willing to sacrifice him, if it came down to it for the mission, and pretty confident that Annabeth is the best one to do this, since and best one to do, and that's why he picked Annabeth, because she's the best one to do this and has, of course, like the best chance of completing the quest. Talking about his own confidence, but I do like how Annabeth has changed about not wanting to really sacrifice Percy, but I do like how that interaction they have about rescue my mother and maybe possibly come back to save him, which I do like Annabeth saying that she didn't need to be told that, because she's become to care for Percy that much. And I do like how we see the slow transformation of Percy to gold statues, and with Annabeth just getting more upset as it goes on, before Percy trying to say, it's fine, before finally turning to gold. I do even like Annabeth's desperation to try to get out, and I even like the interaction she has with Hephaestus, who talking about how it's not going to work, but Annabeth doesn't really care what he's trying to say. And even when Hephaestus just tries to sort of goad her into doing like what was expected to bring the shield, become a hero, win your mother's favor, but Annabeth is just like at this point has grown to care for Percy this much as a friend, and even sort of accept his way of thinking that she doesn't want to be like the gods anymore, and she wants to be more like Percy, and that he's different. And I do like how this to touch Hephaestus, because he knows what the gods are like, with like how Aphrodite and Hera rejected him, and even how his brother Ares has treated him, does this kindness and lets Percy go, saying that we all don't like being like that as well. Not all of them do, so I do like that. So let's see. He leaves, and sort of getting a bit of respect for like Percy and Annabeth, and even tries to try and put a good word in for Annabeth and for Mother, which I am wondering if that is going to happen or not, but I assume it is, since if Athena and Annabeth having sort of hostilities would not work with some of the stuff that goes down with the books later, see with the Athena and Percy interactions later down, particularly the fact that Athena does not like Percy's relationship with Annabeth, or the friendship, if you will, down the line, but that's just me. But I do like how, let's see, once they got the shield bringing back, they're having no nonsense from Ares and just want to get like the ride. But I do like how they're sort of let's see, you've got some like protests about what it is, but Ares says like take it or leave it kind of attitude. I do like the sort of stare down you have between Ares and Percy, and I do like how Grover is just like being one to say like, okay, thank you for everything, even doing a bit of a joking manner with like the intimidation and the fruity food, if you will, and even tries to get some paper towels, but Ares is just not having any of it, as he does give them like a bag of stuff and just gets them in the ride and then just snaps his fingers. But yeah, but I do like how Annabeth, of course, and Percy are like suspicious that he didn't tell everything, but Grover says that he's at least told most of the truth. But interestingly, this is different. The one thing that this is also different from the books is the fact that Grover is this cliffhanger of Grover saying he knows who the master boat thief is, and I'm not sure how to feel about this, because on one hand, it's a quite a good cliffhanger thing. But on one hand, if Grover's guessed right, I do wonder how this change will affect the books going on, because I do feel like if he is correct on who it is, this might change the books and the shows entirely differently from when that revelation out, and it might not, I think, work as well as what the books do. But if he's end up being wrong, it ends up being a sort of like a pointless sort of cliffhanger. But who knows? I guess it really depends on how the cliffhanger plays out. But overall, I liked the episode for the most part. I liked how this episode emphasized a lot of like Annabeth, Percy becoming more friends and trusting one another. Percy willing to sacrifice himself, because Annabeth will complete the quest concerning her friend, and trusting to rescue his mom and him as well once she's done. I do like also how Annabeth is showing concern for Percy and also growing about how she doesn't want to be like the gods and shows the sort of influence that Percy's having on her. Enough that it touches her Festus. I do like the sort of interactions of like Ares with the demigods, particularly with Grover, which has never happened in the books, and they're sort of bonding about all those wars, particularly ones that I've never heard about. But yeah, I do like how they sort of bond about all that and how Grover's also trying to get as much information he can out of it. So I do like seeing that as well. And let's see, and I'm curious to see, and I'm not. Let's see, I'm a little, and some things which I am curious to see how that cliffhanger will work out. Granted, there were some things I'm a little disappointed about, particularly not seeing the spider bots and sort of embarrassment of Percy and Annabeth and their sort of let's say being in a love tunnel together. But who knows? The books itself or the show has developed the more romantic hints in their relationship compared to like in the books at the moment. The show's been a bit more for them being friends, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see down the line. Overall, I'll give this episode 8 out of 10. Tim for me, Alderson good as Hephaestus, Adam Copeland good as Ares. So yeah, it's a fun episode. A bit longer, but granted my review is longer than the actual episode. So yeah, I've talked quite a bit, probably because I went a bit too long with the narration. But overall, it was enjoyable. Maybe not the strongest episode, but I think it's like decent enough. Maybe an 8, maybe actually 8.5. But yeah. Anyway, I look forward to like the next episode, and it's interesting that also they're going to meet Hermes in the next one because that wasn't in the books technically because Hermes doesn't appear until the next book. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber signing off. Thank you for listening to this review. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say, and goodbye for now. See you next time.